Talladega Superspeedway is hosting one of the most talked about weekends of the 2026 NASCAR season. And right at the center of all the buzz is a man who built his career not on racetracks, but on YouTube. Garrett Mitchell, known to millions of fans worldwide as Cleetus McFarland, has found himself in the middle of a story that nobody saw coming. Rejected from one race at Talladega, but confirmed in another, and bringing his best friend along for the ride. This is not a gimmick. This is not a publicity stunt dressed up as motorsport. What is unfolding at Talladega Superspeedway this weekend is a genuine, complicated, and deeply compelling story about where NASCAR has been, where it is going, and how a man with a YouTube channel and a dream is forcing an entire sport to pay attention. If you're new to this name, here's what you need to know. Garrett Mitchell is 30 years old, originally from Bradenton, Florida, and he runs one of the most popular automotive YouTube channels. His channel, Cleetus McFarland, has over 4.67 million subscribers, a number that, when placed next to NASCAR's own TV ratings, tells a startling story. To put that in context, the 2026 Daytona 500 drew 7.489 million viewers. Most regular season cup races pull somewhere between 2 and 2.5 million. Cleetus McFarland's audience sits between those two figures, and it is built entirely on the back of one man's love for cars, racing, and just having an absolute blast. He is the owner of the Freedom Factory, a racetrack he purchased back in 2020 after the property sat abandoned. It was formerly known as DeSoto Speedway, a 3/8-mile oval in Bradenton, Florida, and it became the backdrop for the kind of content that woke up an entirely new generation of motorsport. Wildcard stunts, grassroots racing events, and personalities that felt completely real. His brand is not polished. It is not corporate. It is exactly the kind of authenticity that NASCAR has spent years trying to manufacture and failing to find. He made his first ARCA Menard Series start back in 2025 with Rhett Jones Racing, and across 4 ARCA races that year, he scored 2 top 10 finishes, including a 10th place at Talladega and a career-best 9th at Charlotte Motor Speed. Those results were not flukes. They were the beginning of something. One name needs to be mentioned here, and it carries genuine emotional weight. Greg Biffle, the NASCAR Cup Series legend and a 10-time Series Champions peer-level driver, took Garrett Mitchell under his wing and mentored him through the early stages of his NASCAR journey. That mentorship was closely followed by fans and media alike. Then, in December, Biffle and his family were killed in a plane crash. The loss hit the motorsport community hard, and it hit Cleetus and his team harder than most. That relationship, and the promise both men made to honor Biffle's memory by competing at Talladega, is a thread that runs through everything happening. Now here is where the story gets complicated. In early 2026, Garrett Mitchell signed a 2-year, part-time deal with Richard Childress Racing, one of NASCAR's most respected organizations. He would drive the number 33 RCR Chevrolet in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, the second highest level of NASCAR competition, on a part-time basis. He announced this on Fox Sports Speed with Harvick and Buxton, and the reaction from Kevin Harvick said everything. What? His O'Reilly debut came at Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina on Easter weekend 2026. It was, by most measures, a rough afternoon. He finished 32nd, 6 laps down. He attempted a 3-wide pass on the 3rd lap, lost control, and spun. He nearly spun 2 more times after that. He did not crash anyone, and he did finish the race, but the data was not encouraging. NASCAR EVP and Chief Racing Development Officer John Probe spoke about the decision publicly on the sanctioning body's Hauler Talk podcast. We're all huge Cleetus fans. We all watch his videos and are certainly very appreciative of everything he's done in our sport and will continue to do in our. He is approved right now for O'Reilly Series short tracks, which means he's good for all of ARCA, all of Truck, and then O'Reilly up through the short tracks. We like to see more out of Cleetus in the short tracks. So we're not saying no, but there is more that we would like to see out of Cleetus before we would approve him for Talladega. RCR's Danny Lawrence had quietly seen this coming. He told Motorsport.com after the Rockingham race, "They might ask us to run another race, because the thing about it is we didn't get to do a live pit stop. There were a lot of things they wanted to see happen that didn't happen. When he got sideways early, we automatically went into this conservation mode of just keep rolling and don't push it too hard." Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the most credible voices in NASCAR, was equally candid. Speaking on the Dale Jr. download, Earnhardt said he watched the truck test, the O'Reilly test with RCR, and then the Rockingham race itself. His verdict was direct. I saw enough to not approve him for Daytona or Talladega in the O'Reilly series. To be quite honest with you, in all three of those, he busted his ass. Now, he didn't hit anything, except for the truck. He did wall the truck off of turn 2. But in all three of those instances, he lost control of the car, the truck. When Garrett Mitchell posted his own video on Facebook addressing the decision, he did not deflect or make excuses. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted you to hear it from me first that I have been denied by NASCAR to run Talladega in my O'Reilly's car, he said. Made my O'Reilly's debut last Saturday with hopes of getting approval for Talladega, but they did not see enough. He went on, "It is what it is. I need more windshield time, regardless whether it's in an O'Reilly's car, an ARCA car, or a truck. More windshield time is going to help me. I got a lot to learn, guys." So this isn't as much of a step back or a push down as it seemed. A little bit of a kick in the nuts, but I've just got to get out there in other cars, do as much learning as possible, and then hopefully I'll get to run Daytona, Talladega next. He is not targeting next month. He is targeting the right moment. I just need to get out there more and do as much learning as possible, and then hopefully I'll get to run Daytona and Talladega next year, he said. His next O'Reilly start is confirmed for Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th, again in the number 33 RCR Chevrolet, sponsored by Tommy's Express Car Washing. The long road continues. Here is the twist. The O'Reilly door closed, but the ARCA door did not. Garrett Mitchell is still showing up at Talladega Superspeedway this week, driving the number 30 baldeagle.com Ford for Rhett Jones Racing in the Alabama-manufactured Housing 200. The race goes green Saturday, April 25th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, and it is the fourth ARCA race of the 2026 season. This is not his first time here. In 2025, competing in ARCA at this same track, he finished 10th. He knows his place, and he has had help learning it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. personally drove Mitchell around the 2.66-mile Talladega Oval, going through every bump, every quirk, and every reference point on the track. Earnhardt even walked him through how to pit at Talladega. The preparation has been thorough and serious. Mitchell himself described the atmosphere inside the Talladega grounds with pure enthusiasm. "Talladega is the most lawless place I have ever been," he said. "It's almost its own country, and I just can't believe how incredible it is inside the racetrack here. It's like entering a new country, and I can't believe they don't ask you for a passport. I'm surprised they don't rip your sleeves off." Now here is the part of this story that adds an entirely different dimension. Garrett Mitchell is not going to Talladega alone. His best friend and constant collaborator, George Siciliano, known online as LS George and Squirrel McNutt, has also been cleared to race in the ARCA event, and he will be driving the number 0 Heat Wave Visuals Ford, also fielded by Rhett Jones Racing. Getting to this point was not automatic for George. He had to prove himself through a clear progression, races at Hickory, then Rockingham, then Kansas, before ARCA officials would approve him for a super speed. At Kansas, in his very first race on a track longer than 1 mile, George Siciliano finished 12th. That result spoke for itself. This is the third consecutive week the two friends are racing together, but it is their first time sharing a super speed. At a track like Talladega, where drafting partnerships are the difference between the front and the back, having a trusted teammate changes everything. But beyond the racing strategy, there is something more meaningful happening. Both Cleetus and Squirrel made a promise to honor their late friend Greg Biffle by competing at Talladega together. George Siciliano being cleared and confirmed for this race means that promise is being kept. They ride or die with us, and that's the best feeling in the world, Squirrel said about their fan base, a group that is turning out in force at Talladega this. Squirrel was direct about his intentions stepping onto the super speedway. "This isn't too crazy. We were out here in Crown Vics, so I'm really used to the speeds. Got those up to 160 miles per hour, so that was pretty great. Rockingham and Kansas were pretty fast, and they wouldn't let me do Daytona until then, but now we got it. I'm feeling really good. I'm going to be driving much more aggressively now because I was on the road to Dega, but now I'm here to win. We're going to be shaking and baking." And Cleetus confirmed that the leash has officially come off his partner. He texted me last night, and he said, "I'm letting the cat out of the cage at Dega." So he's been on probation until this. For fans of the 2006 Will Ferrell comedy Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, the shake and bake strategy is not a joke. It is the actual plan. Two drivers working together drafting, and pushing each other through the fact that this is happening at the real Talladega superspeedway with real cars is one of the more surreal and entertaining subplots in recent NASCAR memory. The Alabama-manufactured Housing 200 is not just a backdrop for the Cleetus and Squirrel story. It is a legitimately strong race in its own right. This is the largest ARCA field at Talladega since 2012, with 41 teams in. The top 36 in owner points lock into the race automatically. The final 4 spots are determined by speeds in Friday's final practice session. Joe Gibbs Racing's number 18, driven by Gio Ruggiero, starts on the pole by virtue of leading the owner's stand. Ruggiero is going for his 3rd straight ARCA win after victories at Daytona and Kansas. Jack Wood is another driver with unfinished business. He led 39 laps at Kansas before being wiped out in a late crash. Bobby Nard is in the field looking to crack the top 10 of the standings after a 9th-place finish. Nitro Motorsports is bringing a massive 5-car effort with Jake Finch, Gustine, Jake Bowman, Isabella Robusto, and Thomas Annunziata. The history at this track adds another layer. There has been no repeat ARCA winner at Talladega in 19 consecutive races. The last driver to win here more than once was Frank Kimmel, the 10-time series champion, who took victories there in both 2006 and 2013. And perhaps the most unforgettable moment in Casey Mears is poised to start his 500th career Cup Series race at Talladega, a milestone of enormous significance in professional motorsport. Daniel Dye is making his Cup Series debut, though the circumstances surrounding his arrival are complicated. He was removed from his previous ride at Cal League Racing's Ram Trucks team following controversial comments on a live stream before landing the Live Fast opportunity. If qualifying is rained out, Casey Mears would be the one sent home under the existing rule set. The dominant force in this sport right now is Tyler Reddick. He won at Kansas last weekend by passing Kyle Larson on the final lap in overtime, and that victory was his 5th win in just 9 races this season. The last Cup driver to accomplish that was Dale Earnhardt in 1987. Reddick also carries a new multi-race sponsorship with Rockstar Energy Drink, and his average finish at superspeedways in 2025 was the best of any Cup driver on the circuit. Austin Cindric is the defending race winner. Chase Elliott has a win and 4 top 10 finishes in 8 Talladega starts in the current car generation. On the other end of the spectrum, Joey Logano has 0 top 10 finishes in 8 Talladega starts in this car era, with an average finish of 27.5. Step back and look at the full picture. Garrett Mitchell's YouTube channel draws more viewers than virtually every NASCAR broadcast outside of the Daytona 500. His story, the grassroots racetrack owner who bought a broken-down oval, built a community around it, and is now working his way through the NASCAR ladder the right way, is exactly the kind of narrative the sport has been desperately searching for. The Greg Biffle connection deepens it further. What began as a mentorship between a veteran champion and a YouTube personality became something far more human. A friendship, a promise, and now a tribute being carried out in real time at one of the sport's most iconic venues. The critics are not wrong to raise concern. Safety is real. The progression path matters. Other drivers have spent years earning their credential, but NASCAR itself is holding the line, approving Cleetus for ARCA superspeedways while requiring more short-track experience in the O'Reilly Series before unlocking the bigger stages. That is not a sport looking the other way. That is a sanctioning body threading a genuinely difficult. As Squirrel put it about the crowd that will pack the Talladega infield, there are a lot of great Americans. They ride or die with us, and that's the best feeling in the world. And as Cleetus himself confirmed, looking ahead to the long road still in front of him, I need more windshield time, regardless of whether it's in an O'Reilly's car, the RCA car, or truck. More windshield never isn't going to hurt. I have a lot to learn, guys. 3 things to watch this weekend at Talladega. Whether Cleetus and Squirrel can actually execute their shake and bake drafting strategy in a real superspeedway race. Whether Tyler Reddick can extend the most dominant early season Cup run since 1987, and which one of those 5 Cup teams packs up and drives home before the main event even starts.